My name is Daniel, and I am a marine biologist with a penchant for exploring the unknown. One legend that has fascinated me since childhood is that of the Loch Ness Monster, an elusive creature said to inhabit the deep, dark waters of Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. Stories of this mysterious being, affectionately known as Nessie, have captivated imaginations for generations. The thought of an undiscovered creature living in one of the largest and deepest freshwater lakes in the world was too compelling to resist. In the summer of 2023, I decided to embark on an expedition to Loch Ness to uncover the truth behind the legend. Armed with state-of-the-art sonar equipment, underwater cameras, and a team of dedicated researchers, I was determined to solve the mystery once and for all. Our base of operations was a small cabin on the shore of the loch, providing easy access to the water and a perfect vantage point for observations. The first few days of our expedition were spent familiarizing ourselves with the loch's vast expanse. Loch Ness is over 20 miles long, mile wide, and more than 700 feet deep in places. The sheer size of the loch made it an ideal hiding place for a creature like Nessie, and its murky waters added to the challenge of finding concrete evidence. We began by interviewing locals who claimed to have seen the monster. One such person was Angus, a fisherman who had lived on the loch his entire life. His encounter had occurred nearly a decade ago, but the memory was still fresh in his mind. It was early morning, and the loch was as still as glass, Angus recounted, his weathered face showing a mix of awe and apprehension. I saw a long neck and a small head rise out of the water, followed by a series of humps. It moved gracefully, like a serpent, before disappearing into the depths. I've never seen anything like it before or since. Angus's description matched many other accounts, depicting a large, serpentine creature with a long neck and multiple humps. While skeptics dismiss these sightings as misidentifications of common animals or floating debris, the consistency of the reports suggested that there might be something more to the legend. We deployed our sonar equipment, scanning the depths of the loch for any signs of unusual activity. The sonar readings revealed several large, unexplained objects moving through the water, but capturing clear images was proving difficult due to the loch's turbid conditions. Frustration began to set in, but we pressed on, knowing that perseverance was key to uncovering the truth. On the 7th day of our expedition, we had a breakthrough. Our sonar detected a large object moving at a depth of around 400 feet. Excitement surged through our team as we readied the underwater cameras and lights, lowering them into the water near the area of the sonar contact. As the cameras descended into the dark abyss, we watched the live feed with bated breath. At first, the screen showed only murky water and occasional schools of fish. But then, something massive swam into view, a long, sinuous shape that moved with an almost otherworldly grace. The creature's body was covered in what appeared to be smooth, dark skin, and its movements were both powerful and fluid. We managed to capture several minutes of footage before the creature vanished into the darkness. Reviewing the footage, we were stunned. The creature bore a striking resemblance to the descriptions of Nessie: long neck, multiple humps, and a serpentine body. This was the most compelling evidence yet, and it reignited our determination to document the existence of the Loch Ness Monster. As news of our findings spread, media outlets from around the world descended on Loch Ness, eager to see the footage and hear our story. The interest was overwhelming, but it also brought a level of scrutiny and skepticism that we hadn't anticipated. Some experts argued that the creature in the footage could be a large eel or a misidentified species of fish, while others suggested it might be a hoax. Undeterred, we continued our investigation, conducting further sonar scans and deploying additional cameras in different parts of the loch. Each night, we reviewed the footage, hoping for another glimpse of the elusive creature. Our persistence paid off when, on the 12th night, we captured even clearer images of the creature swimming near the surface. This new footage showed the creature in greater detail, its elongated body, the way it undulated through the water, and the distinct humps that had become synonymous with Nessie. The evidence was mounting, and it was becoming harder for skeptics to dismiss our findings. We presented our data at a press conference, sharing the sonar readings, underwater footage, and eyewitness testimonies. The response was mixed, with some scientists expressing cautious optimism and others remaining firmly skeptical. But for us, the evidence spoke for itself. The Loch Ness Monster was real, and we had the proof. Our expedition had not only reignited the world's fascination with Nessie, but also highlighted the importance of preserving Loch Ness's unique ecosystem. The potential discovery of a new species underscored the need for further research and conservation efforts to protect the loch and its inhabitants. As we packed up our equipment and prepared to leave Loch Ness, I reflected on the journey we had undertaken. The search for Nessie had been more than just a quest to solve a mystery. It had been an exploration of the unknown, a testament to human curiosity and the desire to understand the world around us. The Loch Ness Monster had captured our imaginations for generations. And now, thanks to our efforts, it had taken a step closer to reality. Back at the university, I continued to study the footage and data we had collected, collaborating with other marine biologists and cryptozoologists to analyze our findings. The search for Nessie had opened new avenues of research and inspired a new generation of scientists to look beyond the surface and explore the depths of our planet's unexplored waters. The Loch Ness Monster remained an enigma, a symbol of the mysteries that still await us in the natural world. Our journey had shown that sometimes, the most extraordinary discoveries are found in the most unexpected places. The legend of Nessie would continue to captivate and inspire, a reminder that there is always more to discover, if only we have the courage to seek it out. My name is Nathan, and I am a park ranger stationed in the dense forests of northern Minnesota. Growing up, I had heard tales of the Wendigo, an insatiable, cannibalistic creature that roamed the woods, preying on anyone unfortunate enough to cross its path. The stories were a staple of local folklore, meant to keep children from wandering too far into the wilderness. As I grew older, I dismissed these tales as mere superstition, the product of overactive imaginations. However, my skepticism was challenged in the winter of 2022, when a series of strange and unsettling events began to unfold in the park. Reports of missing hikers, eerie howls at night, and sightings of a gaunt, skeletal figure in the woods started to surface. The park had always been a place of natural beauty and tranquility, but now it was shrouded in an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. My first encounter with the Wendigo occurred late one evening while I was patrolling the northern sector of the park. The air was crisp and cold, the ground covered in a thick blanket of snow. The full moon cast an ethereal glow over the landscape, illuminating the frosty trees and the winding trails. As I walked, my flashlight scanning the shadows, I heard a faint, haunting whisper carried on the wind. "Help me." The voice was barely audible, but it sent a chill down my spine. I stopped in my tracks, straining to listen. The whisper came again, this time clearer and more desperate. Following the sound, I ventured deeper into the woods, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. The whisper led me to a small clearing, where I found a man crouched beside a tree, his eyes wide with terror. "Please, help me," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "It's coming for me." I approached cautiously, my flashlight revealing his gaunt, emaciated figure. He looked as if he hadn't eaten in days, his clothes tattered and his skin pale. I knelt beside him, trying to calm him down and get him to explain what had happened. "It's the Wendigo," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "I saw it. It's real." Before I could ask any more questions, the man let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed. I radioed for backup and an ambulance, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. His body was ice cold, and his eyes were frozen in a look of sheer terror. The paramedics were baffled, unable to determine a cause of death. Shaken by the encounter, I decided to investigate the man's claims further. I delved into the park's history, uncovering old reports of mysterious disappearances and sightings of a creature matching the Wendigo's description. The accounts were eerily consistent. People would hear whispers in the woods, feel an overwhelming sense of dread, and then vanish without a trace. Determined to find answers, I spent the next few weeks patrolling the park more frequently, especially at night. I spoke with locals and other rangers, gathering as much information as I could. The more I learned, the more I realized that the Wendigo was not just a legend, but a very real and dangerous entity. One evening, as I was reviewing my notes in the ranger station, I received a distress call from a hiker named Emily who had ventured into the park alone. She was lost and terrified, claiming that something was stalking her. I grabbed my gear and set out to find her, following the coordinates she had provided. The night was bitterly cold, and the forest seemed to close in around me as I made my way through the snow. I found Emily near the edge of a frozen lake, huddled under a tree. Her face was pale with fear, and she kept glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting something to emerge from the darkness. I reassured her and guided her back towards the ranger station, but as we walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Halfway back, we heard a low, guttural growl that seemed to reverberate through the trees. Emily's grip on my arm tightened, and I felt a surge of adrenaline. We quickened our pace, the growl growing louder and more menacing. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, skeletal being with hollow eyes and sharp, elongated teeth. The Wendigo. It moved with a terrifying speed, its bony limbs seeming to glide over the snow. Emily screamed, and I drew my flashlight, shining it directly at the creature. For a brief moment, it recoiled, hissing and shielding its eyes. Seizing the opportunity, I urged Emily to run, and we sprinted through the forest, the Wendigo's growls echoing behind us. We reached the ranger station, slamming the door shut and barricading it with whatever we could find. The Wendigo's growls faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Emily was shaking, her eyes filled with tears. I did my best to comfort her, but I couldn't ignore the dread that had settled in the pit of my stomach. The Wendigo was real, and it was hunting us. Over the next few days, I gathered a group of experienced rangers and locals to form a search party. We needed to track the Wendigo and find a way to stop it before it claimed more lives. Equipped with rifles, traps, and survival gear, we ventured into the heart of the forest, determined to face the creature head-on. Our search led us to an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The place was decrepit, its windows shattered and its walls covered in strange, dark stains. Inside, we found signs of a struggle, broken furniture, scattered belongings, and claw marks etched into the wood. It was clear that the Wendigo had been here, and it was using the cabin as a lair. As night fell, we set up a perimeter around the cabin, using motion sensors and cameras to monitor any activity. The air was thick with tension, and every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig set our nerves on edge. We waited in silence, our eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of the creature. Hours passed, and just as we were beginning to think the Wendigo wouldn't show, the motion sensors were triggered. The cameras captured a blurry figure moving towards the cabin, its eyes glowing in the night. We readied our rifles, the tension palpable. The Wendigo emerged from the shadows, its skeletal frame illuminated by the moonlight. It let out a bone-chilling howl, and we opened fire. Bullets tore through the night, striking the creature, but it barely flinched. It lunged at us with terrifying speed, its claws slashing through the air. The battle was fierce and chaotic, but eventually, we managed to drive the Wendigo back into the cabin. We set fire to the structure, watching as the flames consumed the old wood and the creature within. Its howls of agony echoed through the forest, slowly fading into silence. In the aftermath, we searched the ashes for any remains, but there was nothing left of the Wendigo. The forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. We had defeated the creature, but the experience left a mark on all of us. Back at the ranger station, We shared our story with the authorities and the media. The tale of the Wendigo's terror and our battle against it spread quickly, capturing the imagination of people far and wide. Some were skeptical, dismissing it as a fabrication or a hallucination brought on by the cold. But for those of us who had faced the creature, the memory was all too real. The legend of the Wendigo would live on, a reminder of the darkness that lurks in the woods and the courage it takes to confront it. As for me, I returned to my duties as a park ranger, forever changed by the encounter. The forest was no longer just a place of beauty and tranquility, it was a realm of mystery and danger, where legends walked among us. I remained vigilant, always aware of the whispers in the wind and the shadows in the trees. The Wendigo's whisper had haunted my dreams, but it had also awakened a sense of purpose. My duty was to protect the park and its visitors, to stand guard against the unknown, and to honor the bravery of those who had faced the darkness with me. The Wendigo may have been defeated, but its presence would always be felt, a silent guardian of the forest's secrets. And as long as I walked those trails, I would carry the memory of that fateful winter night, when the Wendigo's whisper led me into the heart of fear, and showed me the true meaning of courage. My name is Alex, and I have spent most of my life exploring the dense, enigmatic forests of New Jersey's Pine Barrens. As a wildlife biologist, I've always been fascinated by the region's rich biodiversity and the mysteries hidden within its sprawling woods. But one legend has intrigued me more than any other: the tale of the Jersey Devil. According to local lore, the Jersey Devil is a fearsome creature with the head of a horse, the wings of a bat, and the body of a kangaroo. It's said to have been born to a woman named Mother Leeds in 1735, cursed to live as a monstrous beast. For centuries, sightings and encounters with this creature have been reported, instilling fear and fascination in equal measure. In the autumn of 2023, I decided to conduct a detailed study of the Pine Barrens, focusing specifically on areas where sightings of the Jersey Devil had been most frequent. I was determined to uncover the truth behind the legend, armed with modern technology and a healthy dose of skepticism. Joining me were my colleagues, Dr. Emily Carter, an expert in cryptozoology, and Michael Ramirez, a skilled tracker and outdoorsman. Our base camp was set up near the village of Leeds Point, where the legend originated. The locals were friendly but cautious, sharing their own stories and warnings about venturing too deep into the woods. Despite their apprehensions, we were excited to begin our investigation. Our first few days were spent setting up trail cameras and recording equipment throughout the forest. We also conducted interviews with residents who claimed to have encountered the Jersey Devil. One of the most compelling accounts came from an elderly man named Tom, who had lived in the area his entire life. "I was just a boy when I saw it," Tom recalled, his eyes reflecting the vivid memory. "It was late at night, and I heard this unearthly scream coming from the woods. I looked out my window and saw this massive, winged creature with glowing red eyes. It flew past the house and disappeared into the trees. I've never seen anything like it before or since." Tom's description matched many other reports: glowing eyes, large wings, and a terrifying scream that echoed through the night. While skeptics dismiss these sightings as misidentifications of known animals or pure imagination, the consistency and sincerity of the accounts were hard to ignore. One night, about a week into our expedition, we experienced something that shook our skepticism to the core. It was just after midnight, and Emily and I were reviewing footage from our trail cameras, when we heard a series of loud, piercing screams coming from the forest. The sound was unlike anything I had ever heard: primal, chilling, and full of menace. We grabbed our gear and followed the sound, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. The screams grew louder and more intense as we ventured deeper into the woods, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and the snapping of twigs. Suddenly, the forest fell silent, the air thick with tension. As we stood there, straining to listen, Michael pointed to a clearing up ahead. We cautiously approached, our senses on high alert. In the center of the clearing, illuminated by the moonlight, was a set of large, clawed footprints. The prints were unlike anything we had ever seen, massive, with elongated toes and deep impressions in the soil. Emily quickly took photographs and measurements, her excitement barely contained. "These are definitely not from any known animal in this region," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "We might be on the verge of something incredible." We followed the trail of footprints, which led us to an old, abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The structure was dilapidated, its windows shattered and its wooden walls covered in ivy. Inside, we found evidence that suggested the cabin had been used recently: discarded food wrappers, a makeshift bed, and a notebook filled with strange drawings and cryptic notes. The drawings depicted a creature that matched the description of the Jersey Devil: bat-like wings, a horse-like head, and a serpentine tail. The notes were more disturbing, detailing sightings, encounters, and theories about the creature's origins and habits. It was clear that whoever had stayed in the cabin had been obsessed with the Jersey Devil. As we examined the cabin, we heard the screams again, this time much closer. The sound was accompanied by a strong, foul odor that filled the air. We hurried outside, our flashlights scanning the darkness. The creature's outline became visible in the beam of Michael's flashlight: a large, winged figure perched in a tree, its eyes glowing red. Before we could react, the creature let out another scream and launched itself into the air, disappearing into the night. We stood there in stunned silence, the reality of what we had just witnessed sinking in. The Jersey Devil was real, and it was far more terrifying than any of us had imagined. Over the next few days, we continued our investigation, documenting every piece of evidence and trying to learn more about the creature's behavior. We set up additional cameras and sensors, hoping to capture clearer footage. Our efforts paid off when one of our cameras recorded a video of the Jersey Devil flying low over the forest, its wings beating with incredible speed and power. The footage was remarkable, providing the clearest images yet of the creature. It showed a being that defied conventional classification: earthy bird nor mammal, but something entirely different. The video sparked a wave of media interest, drawing attention from scientists, cryptozoologists, and the general public. Despite the excitement, we were acutely aware of the dangers posed by the Jersey Devil. Its presence in the Pine Barrens had instilled fear in the local community, and we felt a responsibility to ensure that our research did not lead to unnecessary risk or harm. We worked closely with local authorities, sharing our findings and coordinating efforts to monitor and study the creature from a safe distance. As winter approached, we decided to wrap up our fieldwork and return to our respective institutions to analyze the data we had collected. Our findings were published in several scientific journals, sparking debates and discussions about the nature of the Jersey Devil and its place in the natural world. For me, the experience was transformative. The Jersey Devil had gone from being a childhood legend to a subject of serious scientific inquiry, challenging my understanding of the world and expanding my sense of what is possible. The Pine Barrens, with its dense forests and hidden secrets, remained a place of wonder and mystery. Years later, I still returned to the Pine Barrens, drawn by the allure of its enigmatic beauty and the possibility of another encounter with the Jersey Devil. The creature's presence continues to captivate my imagination, a reminder that there are still mysteries in the world waiting to be discovered. The legend of the Jersey Devil lives on, not just in the stories told around campfires, but in the ongoing quest for knowledge and understanding. It serves as a symbol of the unknown, a testament to the enduring power of myth and the relentless pursuit of truth. And so, I continue my work, exploring the hidden corners of the natural world, driven by the same curiosity and wonder that led me to the Pine Barrens in search of the Jersey Devil. The journey is never ending, and the discoveries are limitless, for there will always be new mysteries to unravel and new stories to tell. My name is Emma, and I am an ornithologist who has spent years studying the majestic birds of North America. My passion for birds began in childhood, inspired by the diverse avian life that populated the forests near my home in Washington state. Over the years, I have encountered many rare and elusive species, but none has intrigued me more than the legendary thunderbird. The thunderbird is a creature of Native American mythology, described as a massive bird with the power to create thunder and lightning with the beating of its wings. Stories of the thunderbird have been passed down through generations, often regarded as mere folklore. However, occasional sightings and encounters with enormous birds have kept the legend alive, sparking curiosity and speculation. In the spring of 2023, received a call from a colleague, Dr. James Harris, who had been studying bird migration patterns in the remote forests of British Columbia. James was an experienced field biologist, and his excitement was palpable, as he described recent sightings of an unusually large bird that fit the description of the thunderbird. Intrigued, I agreed to join him on an expedition to investigate these reports. Our journey began in the small town of Bella, nestled in a valley surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests. The locals were familiar with the legend of the thunderbird and shared their own stories of sightings and strange occurrences. Their tales were filled with reverence and caution, warning us of the bird's immense power and mysterious nature. Equipped with cameras, binoculars, and recording equipment, James and I set out into the wilderness, guided by the reports of recent sightings. The terrain was rugged and challenging, but the beauty of the landscape was awe-inspiring. As we hiked deeper into the forest, the calls of birds echoed through the trees, a symphony of nature that filled me with a sense of wonder and anticipation. Our first encounter with the thunderbird occurred on the third day of our expedition. We were resting near a pristine lake, its surface reflecting the surrounding mountains and the clear blue sky. Suddenly, a shadow passed over us, and the air was filled with a low, rumbling sound. Looking up, we saw a massive bird soaring high above, its wingspan stretching far wider than any eagle or hawk I had ever seen. The thunderbird circled the lake, its powerful wings creating gusts of wind that rippled the water's surface. James and I watched in stunned silence, our cameras capturing every moment. The bird's feathers were dark and glossy, its eyes piercing and intelligent. As it flew overhead, I felt a mixture of awe and trepidation, aware that we were witnessing something truly extraordinary. Over the next few days, we tracked the thunderbird, documenting its movements and behavior. The bird seemed to favor the high mountain ridges, often disappearing into the clouds, only to reappear moments later with a flash of lightning and a roll of thunder. Its presence had a profound impact on the environment, as if the very elements responded to its commands. One evening, as we camped near a rocky outcrop, we heard the distant sound of thunder, followed by a series of loud, piercing cries. We grabbed our gear and followed the sound, navigating the rugged terrain with urgency. As we reached the top of a ridge, we saw the thunderbird perched on a cliff edge, its wings outstretched and its head held high. The bird's cries echoed through the valley, a powerful and haunting call that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the land. As we approached cautiously, the thunderbird turned its gaze towards us, its eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. For a moment, it felt as if we were in the presence of a being that transcended the natural world, a guardian of the skies and a symbol of untamed power. Despite its formidable appearance, the thunderbird did not display any aggression. Instead, it watched us with a calm and measured demeanor, as if assessing our intentions. We took this opportunity to observe and document the bird, noting its physical characteristics and behavior. Its feathers shimmered in the fading light, creating an almost ethereal glow. As night fell, the thunderbird took flight, disappearing into the darkness with a final, thunderous call. We returned to our camp, exhilarated by the encounter and eager to analyze our findings. Over the next few days, we continued to track the bird, learning more about its hunting habits, flight patterns, and interactions with the environment. Our research revealed that the thunderbird was not just a solitary creature, but part of a small, elusive population that inhabited the remote mountain regions. These birds were incredibly intelligent and seemed to possess a deep connection to the natural elements, using their powerful wings to create storms and navigate the treacherous terrain. One afternoon, as we observed the thunderbird from a hidden vantage point, we witnessed a remarkable display of its power. The sky had grown dark with storm clouds, and the air was charged with electricity. The thunderbird flew high above, its wings beating rhythmically as it called out to the approaching storm. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck nearby, followed by a deafening clap of thunder. The bird seemed to revel in the chaos, its cries mingling with the roar of the storm. This display reinforced the belief that the thunderbird was more than just a bird. It was a force of nature, capable of commanding the elements with its presence. The experience left us in awe, deepening our respect for these magnificent creatures and their place in the natural world. As our expedition drew to a close, we compiled our data and prepared to share our findings with the scientific community. The evidence we had gathered, photos, videos, and detailed observations provided compelling support for the existence of the thunderbird. Our research not only confirmed the legends, but also offered new insights into the behavior and ecology of these extraordinary birds. Back in Bella Coola, we shared our discoveries with the locals, who received the news with a mix of pride and vindication. The legend of the thunderbird had always been a part of their heritage, and our findings affirmed their belief in the creature's existence. We also collaborated with conservationists to develop strategies for protecting the thunderbird's habitat, ensuring that these majestic birds could continue to thrive in the wild. For me, the expedition was a transformative experience. The thunderbird had captured my imagination and challenged my understanding of the natural world. It reminded me that there are still mysteries to be uncovered, and that the boundaries between myth and reality are often more fluid than we realize. As I continue my work as an ornithologist, I carry with me the memory of the thunderbird and the lessons it taught me. The bird's shadow remains a symbol of the untamed beauty and power of nature, a reminder that there are forces in this world that transcend our understanding and inspire us to seek out the unknown. The thunderbird's legend lives on, not just in the stories of the past, but in the ongoing quest for knowledge and discovery. It serves as a testament to the enduring power of nature and the limitless possibilities that await those who dare to explore its mysteries. And so, my journey continues, driven by the same curiosity and wonder that led me to the thunderbird. The quest for understanding is never-ending, and the discoveries are limitless. For there will always be new mysteries to unravel and new stories to tell.